This is the Millennial Millionaire Through Real Estate podcast.
I think I was probably texting her complaining one day saying I'm bored. That's a theme in my life. And she was probably like, shut up and get on this website. You can make $5 doing anything.
You're listening to the Millennial Millionaire Through Real Estate podcast, where we discuss tangible tips, tricks, and best practices for becoming financially free. The show is designed for people who want to either start real estate investing or for those who want to scale their real estate business.
What's up, guys? This is Jonathan Farber, host of the Millennial Millionaire Through Real Estate podcast. This show is all about achieving financial freedom as fast as possible so you can do whatever makes you happy in life. For me, that vehicle was real estate, and it's how I achieved financial freedom at 27. If you want to know how I got started, my journey is presented in a YouTube video posted in the show notes, and I post daily in our private Facebook group about my favorite topics and day-to-day strategies. I appreciate you guys being here, and let's get started. Oh, by the way, reach out if you ever need help. I try to keep my calendar open to talk to anyone that needs it or has any quick questions. See you guys. Talk to you later. This episode is sponsored by Infinite Road Destinations, the smartest short-term rental property management group I know, and the group that manages my properties. This is a company that's very close to my heart, run by two of the smartest, most attentive people I know, Claire Rosenberg and Alex Brashears. Claire and I first met when we worked together at NetApp, where she was a top performer and rose crazy fast in the company. And Alex is just one of the most active, genuine people I know in the real estate space. The two of them together bring a blended background of project management, software design, and extensive experience with automation tools and virtual assistants. Through these experiences, they optimize any property to deliver a hands-off experience to owners while delivering the highest occupancy and highest daily rates possible. You guys know I would not recommend anything to anyone in this group that I do not fully endorse or think that is the absolute best product. And this company is that. And like I said before, this is the exact company and people that manage my Airbnbs. If you don't believe me, here are a few of the other tools and services that come along with the team: listing optimization, guest support and approval, communication and reservations, key exchange and management, dynamic pricing, welcome kit creation, listing advertising and marketing, vendor management, including cleaners, maintenance, handyman, runners, and monthly property reports. To learn more, check out shorttermmadeeasy.com or email info@shorttermmadeeasy.com. And on the form, just mention that you heard it here or mention my name. So give it a try. You have nothing to lose, and they offer a satisfaction guarantee. And I assure you guys, you will not be disappointed. What's going on, guys? Today we have potentially one of my favorite episodes. I know I say that a lot, but just you'll hear it for yourselves. It's that good, with Alex Fasulo. Alex and I first connected actually on TikTok, where she has a massive following. But I realized after that I'd already seen her before on CNBC and Forbes and some other places that she's been published multiple times for just what she's built and having such a big following at such a young age. So her background is she lives in Florida, the Panhandle, but she started a freelance kind of side hustle when she was 22, quit her corporate job, and started to do writing. And now she has grown that into something much bigger, can charge a lot more, and basically now built out a team and a hiring and training platform, along with kind of teaching other people how to do it. But she's one of the biggest in the world now in the space, and that's why she has the massive followings that she does. We'll link all those below, but she's been featured on CNBC, Business Insider, Forbes. She's got over 500,000 followers on TikTok, hundreds of thousands in other places as well. And now she just works virtually, writing and freelancing and teaching other people how to do the same. It's a really cool story. And we get into how she got into it, what she does day to day, what advice she would have for other people. And then also the flip side of it for real estate investors or entrepreneurs looking to hire their first maybe freelancer, virtual assistant, deal analyzer, someone that can help with kind of taking some stress off their life, and how she would do it if she was on that side of the table. And now what she advises people to kind of do to improve the situation working with other people. So it's just a really cool story. There's going to be more to come with Alex. She's doing some Airbnb herself now. She's trying to buy and invest. And I'll be on her podcast in a couple months, so look out for that. But just a really cool episode and a really cool story. The main learning I had from the show is that it's never been easier to start a freelancing business and market on Fiverr or other sites, because there's so many things you can do. You don't even need to be good at anything. She goes through a couple of scenarios where people can start and they can just be a dress up and do intro videos. They can put on a costume, or they can just kind of be like a support friend for someone, or other examples that she mentions that don't require any like skill or practical like knowledge yet. And you can see what you like and don't like. There's just so many different ways that you can get into the game. And then from there, explore if you're good at something, if you like it, or if it makes money. Those are kind of her 3 boxes that she mentioned to figure out what she liked doing, what she was going to pursue with a lot more, energy and spark. So that was kind of like the takeaway I had, but I think you can apply it to anything. And for anyone that's trying to think about building a side hustle that's not tied to a location, this might be the episode for you. The tangible tip that I had for this episode was to try and actually get a project, listed. Like, I know so many times we talk about on the side of the table where you're going to be the one listing a project, but if there's something you think you can do for someone else, analyze their deals, drive around a property, take pictures, try putting that up as a side hustle on a site and see if you get any bites, and take the steps that she recommends and a lot of her stuff to get more traction on your post. But if you want to just build a side hustle and income that's not tied to your job, this is a way you can do it. So the tangible tip would be make a site, make a, not a site, make an entry or a post for a skill that maybe you can do, and give it a stab. You never know what is going to come of that, or if you might like it or not. And when you actually do it, you'll know. And there's hundreds of sites. So what the tangible tip would be, start out with Fiverr. And if you're not getting any traction on that, go to maybe a couple other ones. Alex has content on some of the other sites you can use, follow her steps, and from there, see what you can do as a side hustle job and what that actually ends up turning into. So much good stuff here, guys. I think you're going to love this one. If you have any questions, feel free to just follow up with me or check out Alex on social media. She's answering tons of questions daily. So that's it. Enjoy. See you guys. All right, Alex, what is going on? Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on, Jonathan. I always love watching your TikToks.
No, I like watching your TikToks.
Good old TikTok.
We'll get to TikTok. We'll get to social media in general. I mean, you have blown up. You're probably social media wise one of the biggest people we've had on. But I feel like you've done it in a way that has been like so constant. Like we've had a couple of people that I would say came on, they may have had just like a viral video or a viral thing, but like you've stayed very consistent. So we'll get into all that and process, but it's just cool to see, and we'll link all that stuff later. I'm sure for any of you guys listening and watching right now, you'll start stalking Alex mid-show, but try to wait till the end. You'll learn a lot more. So Alex, before we get into anything, you want to just kick us off with a high level of kind of who you are, how you got into entrepreneurship. Were you the same person as a kid as you kind of developed into this like business person now? And where has it taken you to today? What does it look like? So kind of loaded question, but if you could.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't consider myself an entrepreneur when I went to college. I, if anything, thought I was going to go be like a journalist or a writer of some kind, maybe in like politics or something like that. So I definitely never at 18 was like, I am a boss and an entrepreneur and all these things. When I look back on my childhood and my teen years, though, all the signs were there that this would absolutely become my purpose and my destiny, because I was, running my own little businesses for money when I was as young as 8. So looking back on it, the signs were there. But yeah, I mean, today, I did the corporate thing at 21. I graduated a year early. Thinking like, this is it, thinking I'm going to get the 9 to 5, whatever, life is supposed to suck. So that was kind of almost like a thing that was kind of fed to us in like high school and college, is like, work sucks. And I'm like, well, why though? And I don't do good with bosses above me. I always talk back to them. I always ask questions. I always challenge everything. So when I was 22, I quit my job with no plan, no money, nothing. I didn't have any big plan. I didn't know I was going to become a like famous freelancer. I didn't know Fiverr was going to make me all this money. I had, no idea of any of it. I just hated that job. And I just refused to accept that life has to suck. I was just like, I just don't accept this. Sorry, everyone, I'm out. So I quit and I started freelancing 22 into 23. And then by 25, my story kind of blew up. That was when CNBC covered me for the first time and put my income right in the title, which was interesting, brought in a lot of hate. Lots of people today who still say I'm lying, nothing I can do about it, of course. But yeah, I mean, today I'm a full-time freelance writer. I have a whole freelance writing agency now. I'm really looking to do kind of pivot from it now and do all sorts of other things because I've saved a lot of money over the last few years. I've had a lot of people tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing with my money, and I've saved it. And now I have a lot of options available to me. And so now I'm, like I said to you, I'm like, might be getting into Airbnb. I do, some affiliate marketing. I do a lot of social media stuff. And yeah, and I love it.
So that's insane. I mean, just like the progression and starting at 22 with no like fallback plan. Like we have a lot of people on the show that build side hustles while they have jobs, and then other people kind of take the burn the boats approach like you did. So can you maybe just take us back to like your first like year, you're 22, and what your thinking was, like how you started to find your footing and like start to build momentum? Because again, I think a lot of people listening to this, it's hard to start anything from scratch and start anything cold. And, for most people, that's enough to just deter them from even starting. So when you were kind of getting into it, what was your thought process or kind of first couple steps?
Yeah, when I was getting into it, I was obviously slightly panicked because I had rent that I had to make. So my strategy was to try a bunch of different things and see which one was going to start making me money. So one of those things was Fiverr and Upwork, freelancing. That was only one of the things. I was also offering, private social media management for clients. I was teaching social media marketing classes at night once a week. I was, offering to do consultations on the phone to explain Instagram to people like in their 70s. I was like, Mom, I'll work on a business with you. So we like launched a website little thing together. Then I tried getting into, press release distribution. I tried freaking everything. And I think that's an important step in all of this because I think it helps you understand what you like, what you don't like, what makes money, what doesn't make money. And I think that gives you the opportunity to find that winning thing for yourself. Because I think a lot of people put pressure on, they'll quit, they'll try one thing that they think they are going to love and they hate it. And they're like, I failed, this is a failure, I'm going back to the job. And I'm like, you're just starting though. You didn't even try. I never in a million years thought I was going to be a glorified freelance writer. Like, I didn't even know that was a job title. It just happened. And I guess in a mindset of gratefulness, was grateful for it and the money it was making me and the freedom it was giving me. And I just kind of like molded myself to it because I think sometimes people get a little entitled with all of it. If you're good at something and if it makes you money and if you're helping people, like learn to love that because that's an amazing thing.
So true. I love what you just said there about most people try one thing. Like you hear people say like, oh, I tried everything. And then you ask them like, well, what did you try? And they tried 3 things and then they quit. Like it takes persistence.
It does.
And
That's it. That's the secret. I mean,
yeah, and you'll feel like you'll know what you're good at. You'll know what you don't like doing, like all these things. And you can find that combination of, like you said, what you like doing, what you're good at, what can make you money, like kind of the trifecta. So, okay.
Yeah.
As you're kind of like starting to try all these things, which right there is like a great tip. When did you kind of like stumble into Fiverr or the world of freelancing and know that, you were going to maybe try to double down on something a little bit more as your niche? And, how did that start to build?
Yeah, it's funny. Fiverr was actually with me still a year before I quit the job. And my mom actually told me about it because I think I was probably texting her complaining one day saying I'm bored. That's a theme in my life. And she was probably like, shut up and get on this website. You can make $5 doing anything. And that was like enough for me. I was like, ooh, $5 doing anything. Because I'll see these people today where they're like, I'm worth more than that. And I'm like, no one is saying you're not, but everyone has to start somewhere. So like, I was okay with $5 in the beginning. Now people can even start at 20. It isn't even back in my time. We started at $5 on Fiverr, but I started it in 2015. I offered a blank editing gig, $5 for anything. It could be like a 20-word tweet, or it could be a 1,000-word essay. I was like, for $5, I'll edit it for you. And I was like, this is cool. This is fun. So when I quit my job, I was like, all right, let's see if this Fiverr site can make me more money than it currently is. I've never even really tried. I guess I'll write press releases for people for $15. I now charge $125 for that same service, just to give you an idea of the, price hike that's gone on. By being patient and being with them for years and everything, it pays off, when you stick with stuff. So yeah, I got on there and I started opening different writing services, namely blog writing, press release writing, and website content, plus the editing thing that I had already had. And it, the momentum started to move on there. And I'd say probably after only 3 months, I was earning between $2,000 to $3,000 per month, working my ass off, though, mind you, working my ass off like 14 hours a day. But I was happy. I loved it. I was like, I'm working out of a freaking Starbucks. I was a digital nomad before that was even a term. Like it was like 2016. No one was even saying that term yet. I'm like at a Starbucks. Everyone hates me who knows me because they're like, Alex is playing pretend as a writer at a cafe right now. I know everyone was probably like, oh gosh, this poor girl. And then that all changed in 2018 when the CNBC article came out. And then everyone was like, oh, she is making good money. Ew.
Mm,
And that was my introduction into the world of mindset and everything. So I've become much more both a freelance writing, influencer today, as well as a mindset one, because I think that's even more important than the actual talent of writing.
gotcha. Okay. Wow. There's so much there. We are going to come back again to like social media branding. And I want to ask specifically a little bit later about like how things changed in 2018. But I guess just even going a little bit even further back or kind of like lateral, we jumped into like the world of Fiverr and freelance and like outsourcing very quickly. Can you just define for someone that's never heard of any of those terms, like what we're talking about and like what this world is?
Yeah. Yeah. So freelancing is the act of completing a service for a client on a per project basis. That's like the simplest way I can define it. If you're someone who watched like Game of Thrones or you like Renaissance or medieval stuff, you're like a sellsword kind of like you're not in any particular army. It's like whoever throws you the bag of gold, like you go fight for them like for the day and then you leave and you go fight for another army the next day. I love Game of Thrones and all that stuff. Clearly, fairy, whatever. That's kind of what it is today, though. You are your own entity. And if a client, approaches you, whether it be on Fiverr, your website or whatever, and says, hey, I want you to write my website content, I'll pay you $400 for it. You enter into a contract with that client, you complete it, you're done, and then they go on their way and you go on your way. So yeah, you complete it for the client, and it can be a long-term thing if you want. Maybe you agree with the client over 3 months, you're going to do 3 different pieces of writing, or maybe you're just going to write a 500-word blog for them and that's it, and you'll never write for them again. And that's freelancing in essence. It cuts out that middleman, which is a company today. If you work in a 9 to 5, your boss is the middleman between you and the clients. And in exchange, they give you benefits, and that's the trade-off. Except a big part of my social media is there's a lot of benefits available to freelancers and entrepreneurs. You don't need a 9 to 5 to have retirement, to have all the other things that you think you need to have a 9 to 5 for. And Fiverr is a freelancing marketplace. So it's a place that you can get on and register on it, make a profile and find your freelancing clients. Sorry if that was a long answer.
Nope, totally. It was great. Again, because a lot of
Okay.
people may be coming to this, they've maybe dabbled, but they have no clue what it actually means. So that's
Yeah.
that's really cool. So when did you start like making more money or realizing this could be an actual business instead of a side hustle? Because it sounds like you kind of gradually scaled. And I love what you even said about like starting at a lower price to get, and it's the same thing with like Airbnb or like real estate, like starting at a lower price to get reviews, to learn, to know like your worth in the marketplace. And then from there you can charge more and more, you get referrals, your brand grows, your name grows. So like what did that progression look like for you as you were kind of like scaling and building clients?
Yeah, so 2015, 2016 was just me doing my thing, getting my reviews, learning all of this crazy stuff. 2017, everything changed, dramatically when Fiverr launched Fiverr Pro, which is the top 1%, premium talent on the platform, if you will. And tons of my clients every day, or my students rather, will come to me and say, I got accepted into Fiverr Pro. So people might think like, oh, they don't accept people anymore. Totally not true. Yes, they do. But they launched Fiverr Pro in 2017, but it actually didn't come out of beta and like work until 2018. So that was why my income quadrupled between 2017 and 2018, because they looked at me and they're like, okay, you know how you're charging like $25 right now? Like we want you to charge $100 because there's a pricing psychology here and we want you to be seen as premium talent on our platform. And well, how old was I at the time? 24, 25. I'm pretty sure I was like my jaw dropped when they told me that. I was with them in person too. I was like, excuse me? Because still at this point, I mean, I was doing what I thought to be quite freaking well for myself. I was making like 60K a year at 24, 25. doing what I love from anywhere I want. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. Like that was
Mm,
enough for me. I didn't need what came, and complications kind of came with what, with everything. There's always good and bad. So having my income blow up well into the six figures was crazy. It took me like honestly 2 to 3 years to even like accept that that was happening to me and that I was like worthy of it. It was
mm.
really a lot of weird stuff came with it. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or whatever, but Fiverr Pro launched in 2018. So then that's when my income exploded. And then that's why CNBC wanted to cover my story, because they're like, that's nuts that you're making 300K a year and you're freaking 25 years old. Like, we want to write an article about it. And I was like, okay, cool. Right. Like thinking everyone that I know would be excited for me. And then that was my like first massive wake up to real life.
Okay, so I feel like now is a good time to talk about that. So like how different was life before and after? Like you went from someone that was just making money privately to making money publicly and then having all this attention.
There's good and bad to both things, right? Because like in the beginning, when nobody knew what I was doing and everyone left me alone, that was nice in its own way. Because no one was hating on me. No one felt like I was a threat to them. No one cared. They're just like, oh, Alex, haha, like weird artist girl in the corner. She's quirky, whatever. And that was nice in a way, right? Like no one's bothering me. I can just kind of like do my own thing. And then yeah, when it became public, a lot of pressure and responsibility comes with that. I have to be really careful what I say on social media now, because if I say the wrong thing, there's a Reddit thread the next day about how I'm a liar, how I'm whatever. And having tens of thousands of people on the internet hate your guts is never a fun feeling. You're never like, oh, I love this. For me, no, it's like, yeah, I mean, on the other side of it, I have more opportunity than ever before now because my story is so out there. I have crazy opportunities that would never have been given to me if my story wasn't out there. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have dropped out of my life who used to be in my life. It makes dating complicated a bit. Um, it comes with pressure, right? It
Sure.
comes with a publicness to everything. And I think people always think like when they see someone like me posting, oh, she loves attention or she loves seeing herself or whatever, because she posts to social media all the time. And it's like, I actually don't though. I don't. I just like to educate, and people want more information about what I'm sharing.
For
So
sure.
it's like, would I rather just go back to being a nobody in the corner? Yeah, it's kind of easier that way because people aren't judging you.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I mean it's a fine line because it's like you can affect a lot more change and you can help a lot more people, the bigger brand, but I'm at like I would say the beginning stages of it. Did just cross 100K on TikTok yesterday, so I'm pretty hyped about that.
Nice.
But like,
Nice.
yeah, it's the same thing. Like, there's so much like weird like back and forth with it. But yes, ultimately to that point, like if you can use a platform to help more people, ultimately that's cool. But yeah, there's definitely some blowback with it, like from all sides. So still all really cool stuff, and like the way you've handled it is definitely, I would say, like better than so many people, and just like it's going to be a gradual process, like like people are just like thrown into this. Like I think a lot about like Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss, like he talks about when he like wrote 4 Hour Work Week, he thought it was going to be like nothing, and then like his life completely changed, and like now it's this whole
Yeah.
thing. So you grow into it, and like I'm sure you've learned a ton.
I've learned more than I've wanted to learn, but I will say the hardest thing for me every single day is to not fire back at people, because that is my personality type, like to a T. So when people accuse me of just straight up like incorrect things online, I want to so badly like write back to them like, you are wrong and here is why. And I have had many people in my family and now people who work with me say, please stop doing that, Alex. And
Mm.
I'm just like, it kills me, kills me.
Totally. I mean, yeah, that's a
Uh,
fine line.
yeah.
It's so funny. All right. So changing gears a little bit, just like into now the day to day and like almost, the beginners type shoes if you were going back. So, there's a lot of people that are wondering the question that we kind of kicked off with of stay in my job and try to build a side hustle, or just kind of quit and figure it out. And that'll put me in like a position to succeed. So you took the option of just pulling out and figuring it and going and like putting your back against the wall. Like looking back, I don't think you regret that decision, but is there anything you would have done differently? Or, I'm sure you get that question maybe a lot for beginners. How do you think about that for a beginner, especially today, maybe in a virtual world where they could work from home as is, and then maybe do a side hustle? Like, is that any different than when you were kind of scaling your side hustle?
Yeah, I think it's way different right now compared to 2015. I think it's so much easier to just go online and start a bunch of side hustles before you quit that 9 to 5. So I will always advocate for people, start dabbling in a bunch of stuff before you quit. You don't have to do it as dramatically as I did it. There is going to come a point though where you will then have to at some point quit that job and finally go in all in, because I don't necessarily think you can blow up big time if you're still working a 9 to 5, because they take a lot from you at those 9 to 5s. I've seen it. You don't have that same spark and whatever than if you're just completely on your own. There's a whole like new thing that comes over you. So I say to people, because I never want to like advocate for someone to make a really insane financial decision and be like, well, Alex told me I should quit, now I'm homeless. And I'm like, no, I didn't say that. um I would say to people, try 4 or 5 side hustles and get like 3 all set up, and even get them to a point where they're even starting to make some money before you quit your 9 to 5. It does not have to be as dramatic as how I did it. It doesn't.
Mhm. For sure. And let's say someone wanted to go the route that you've taken or teach about. From a high level, what does that typically look like if someone says, all right, I'm going to start experimenting on Fiverr. I want to start marketing my services. Actually, even one step back before this, I'm sure you get this question a lot. And like, I see it a lot now more on social media. People are like, I don't know like what I'm good enough at to start making money. I don't feel like I deserve to charge people, or like, I'm not good at anything. I hate that response. Like people say like, oh, let me be your mentor. And I'm like, well, okay, let's talk about like, what are you willing to do? They're like, I don't know. I'm not good at anything. I'm like, stop saying that. Okay. So like, how do you think about that? Or again, for a beginner that's like stuck on that?
Oh man, that gets me going so much. That makes me want to go find their parents and like shake their parents, because I'm like, how did you raise a child that has such low self-esteem and confidence? Like, you failed as a parent. So it's like that's the first thing I feel. Every single human being on the planet has talent. And whether you want to look at that spiritually, that you're here for a reason, obviously, if you're here for a reason, there's something you have to give this world. If you want to look at it not spiritually, what I would say to that is, on a site like Fiverr, there are people making money doing things that actually require no prior skill set. There are people dressed up in superhero costumes doing greeting videos. There are people who will be your virtual best friend for an hour and listen to all of your problems. There are people who will read your book before you send it to your publisher and give you their honest opinion on it. What did you need here? A costume, the ability to read, an internet connection. Like, that's it. That's what I would say to someone who's like, well, I don't believe in God or whatever. I'm like, okay, well then go do those things. And if you do believe in God, then you should believe that you're here for a reason, and you absolutely do have talent, and you have to stop speaking about yourself like that. Words have meaning. And every time you say that out loud, you're like dooming yourself. You have to just start saying, I do have talent. I am going to succeed. You got to start, say it in the mirror in the morning. I don't,
Mm.
but I know a lot of people who do.
No, I totally get it. And it's even like kind of what I think you were hinting at before, like when you started making real money, like there's a part that with everything, you need to like mentally accept that we all fight imposter syndrome. Like if it's about money, if it's about attention, like just getting over it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of beginners, that's the hardest one to get over, of like, no, like I don't have any skills. Like I'm not worth like making money, but like, yeah, we all are. Like this is the world we live in. Like we're allowed to do it. So let's say they can kind of get over that. And like, would you recommend someone then their first step to be on the site and start scrolling around and looking at potential options and just maybe like bookmarking what gets them interested? Or how would you recommend them start to like tactically feel out their first couple steps when they first download the site?
Yeah, I say to people, I'm like, you guys, if you don't have like the gumption to just go on Fiverr for 2 hours and sift around it, I don't know if freelancing is going to be for you, because that's the easiest thing you could ever go do. It's like shopping for your future. Like, it's more fun than going on Forever 21. Yeah, I would say go on it and sift around. I mean, there's literally 300 different things people are selling on there right now. It's only getting bigger by the day, and Fiverr is only one of 500 freelancing sites that you could check out. So it's like, I would, yeah, go shop around, go see what are other people doing. Oh, they're doing that. Maybe I could do that. Go look at their gig description, it's called, on Fiverr. What are they offering in that service? How are they wording it? Oh, they're offering this add-on. go on YouTube, type it in, learn that for free in a 30-minute video some guy posted, or maybe I posted it. You know, it's like there's so much free education and resources online today that when people are like, oh, I can't do it, I'm like, no, you just didn't try. You have to like have the initiative to at least go like sift around. Just look at it like shopping.
Totally. I love that. It's like you're shopping for your future. So
Yep.
that just kind of says it all. Okay. So then I guess within that, are there any other, like I almost don't even know what questions to ask in a sense, but like any other beginner places you see people getting tripped up, or common questions you get down that path where it's like, let's just figure this out and fix it?
People get really in their head with saturation. They'll be like, well, I want to do this, but 80,000 other people are doing it. And then to that, I always say, there is no such thing as saturation if you like commit yourself to being the very best at what you're doing, period. That's the end of that sentence. Like, yeah, I mean, there's been writers since the beginning of time, but that's not stopping someone from writing today. It's like, there's always going to be a market for what you are selling if you work hard to be better than the people who are already doing it. So like, that's what I told myself when I got started on Fiverr. There was already tons of people writing on there. I didn't sit there and go, oh, they're getting all my clients. I went, okay, wow, clearly there's a demand. So I'm going to be a creeper. I'm going to stalk all these people's profiles. I'm going to word mine better. I'm going to take better photos. I'm going to offer a price that's $5 less than all the rest of them. I'm going to turn around the orders a day quicker than all the rest of them. And I'm going to beat everyone, basically. Not that these people even knew they were in a competition with me. Of course, that was just in my head. But that's kind of how you have to think with this stuff. Like, okay, there's 1,000 other logo designers. Just tell yourself you're going to be in the top 10, and you're not going to settle until that's what you do with it.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so similar hearing that to like Airbnb and Turo. Same thing. Like you need to get in, and if it's competitive, that just is proof of concept that there's demand. But at the same time, there's always going to be room for someone that does it well. If you deliver an amazing experience, if your customer service is amazing, if you're responsive, there will always be a place for the best people. You know, it's actually, I think, better because if everyone kind of surges in, it's the law of averages. Most people suck at everything, you know? So if you can just not suck, you're going to already be good. And then if you can be like better beyond that, you're going to be like in that 1%. So it's funny how similar that is to like these other, digital like side hustles that are also review based, just like, any of the freelancer sites.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right. I know Airbnb is, I know. And I'll see some Airbnbs that have the worst reviews, and like, I'll still end up staying at them sometimes. Cause if you're on like a road trip, or if you need to like one that's pet friendly, you just go anyway, like you almost like have to. Sorry, I digress, but
you're good. You're good.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, that's all of this is you have to just keep your head down and just keep going and just obsess over it, basically.
So the next thing, I guess, when like I start anything, and I'm sure you do too, is thinking about like how to scale it and how to, sort of disconnect, if possible, your time from money. And I know we were talking about real estate a little before and kind of some of the benefit of that, but you've scaled a brand, you've scaled a business, but you still at the end of the day ultimately have an amazing skill, which is writing. So I'm curious for you, like how you thought about growing a business that was still kind of dependent on you. I know it's something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. If they are the service, if they are the name, the people are coming for them, and it's tough to disconnect from that. So I'm curious if you had any learnings or, what that looked like for you as you tried to figure that out from, 2015 to now.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out scaling writing because it's a very specific talent to each individual. It's a very hard thing to grow on a large scale. I did everything by myself for 4 years, where I know most people would have not lasted that long completely by themselves. They probably would have started building it out by year 2. That was just how I wanted to do it. I recognized that my ability to write well and to write quickly, I knew was somewhat unique, but I knew I'm not like the only one in the world who can do this, of course. And by year 4 was when I was like, okay, I need to start bringing on help here because I'm turning away business and this is just dumb. So it took me, I'm not even kidding, 30 writers to find one who could write well and write on time and follow instructions and show up, basically. And that writer actually has been amazing, and I've known them for a long time. And they actually, it's a funny week. They're actually leaving at the end of this week after 3 years together. So end of an era. But I have a more streamlined hiring process now because I've learned a lot about hiring writers, over the years. So I've gotten more efficient at it. So I'm onboarding 2 new ones currently, and added my best friend to the mix 2 months ago. She quit her job because I've been asking her to come work with me full time. She's the only one I would trust to log into my Fiverr profile. So I would not ever sit here and say that you can scale a Fiverr business very easily. It's definitely not been easy to do that because you need to really trust the person logging in as you. You need to spend a lot of time. If you're going to vet writers, you need to make sure they're not slipping up, that they're proofreading their work. You got to buy your team Grammarly so they can use Grammarly to run all their content through it. A lot goes into it. Not an easy thing to scale, but I think it's more so though, like freelance writing is a great thing, in my opinion. I think it's easy to make like 100K per year doing it and not have to work a ton of time. That's what's cool about it. It's almost like a springboard type of side hustle is what I would call it, because it can make you a ton of money. You're going to work hard, but you can make a ton of money from it. If you do it for a couple of years, that money that you'll have, especially if you're only in your 20s, will set you up forever.
Totally.
I've seen, like, if you're 25 years old and you have like 300K in your bank account, and if you do the right things with it, like you're going to retire in 10 years and you're not even going to have to work again because time's on your side.
For sure. I look at it like, and it's so funny how you explain it. It's almost like a spectrum. Like the worst is working in a job you don't like. Then it gets gradually better and better. Like removing yourself from that office and working virtually, that's a huge upgrade. And then another upgrade from that would be, like working less hours a day. And then an upgrade from that would be removing yourself and hiring people, so you can keep like scaling all the way to like active versus completely passive. But it's just interesting to hear, like, for anyone listening, regardless. I mean, I'm always just curious about scale, but anyone can start a side hustle and do freelancing just to remove themselves from that worst option of working a job that they don't like for a boss they don't like, and just like giving away all their time. And I like what you said before, that you lose that spark. I don't even care if it's like just the time that you're training, but like if you're doing something you don't like for 8 hours a day, like it's sapping. Like you're not going to have the energy to maybe work on your side hustle the same way that someone that's like happy would,
100%. I've seen it with people in my life. When I'll say to them like, oh, you should start a side hustle, and they'll look at me, they'll be like, my soul has been so devoured today at my job that I can't even cook dinner. And then that's when I get like angry and I'm like, screw corporations. And I don't hide that from any of my social media because I'm like, this is so messed up what is happening to people.
Yeah. There's a whole lot more we could say on that, but we'll keep moving. I just agree. And we have very similar messages on that.
All right. Yeah.
The other thing that I want to make sure we talk about, of like a shift, the other side of the coin, is for people that are listening who maybe want to start outsourcing things in their life. And I hear this one all the time. I mean, I'm again still at the beginning, but like outsourcing a lot of help with social media and content and branding. But a common complaint or like rebuttal I hear from people is that I can never outsource writing because it's my voice and it's my story. And, like there's no way that I could pay a writer, a little amount to come up with something that like I can rubber stamp as, valid. So one, like, what do you say to that? And then two, I guess kind of on the back end of that, like, what do you think people need to give a freelance writer or a freelancer in general to make sure that they're successful?
So with the type of freelance writing I do, it's actually a very functional, research-based kind of writing. I would not call it creative fiction writing at all. And in that way, it's actually not too hard to pass on. Like your voice isn't even really your voice. You're more so writing sales and marketing copy according to what the client wants. So it's very different writing from if someone hires you to write a fictional story for them. And now there's all these different voices and everything that's going on with it. So I don't really find it that difficult to have other people in the mix with me. You're really just satisfying what the client wants. It's not really about you or your voice. So the client will say to you, like, I don't know, like I have an accounting website, so it needs to be dry and informational and no exclamation points. And then it's like anybody can kind of follow those instructions basically. But that comes down to the most important part of a freelancing transaction, especially as a writer, is the questionnaire that you give the client. And the questionnaire is how they tell you all of these things, so you don't have any of these other problems. And the questionnaire, you know, should be extensive. It should cover everything from what kind of style writing, can you attach a sample of another piece of writing that you want me to emulate? You know, do you like long sentences? Do you like short sentences? Do you want exclamation points? Like, you know, it's all that stuff. You really want to be thorough in your questionnaire, because it's your kind of safety ticket against the client. If they decide they want to be like a crazy person to you, you could be like, you literally said right here you wanted it conversational. Like you circled that. So I wrote it conversationally. So if you want it serious now, that's fine, but there will be some budgeting implications for it, because I've been doing this for way too long. I literally could like recite this in my sleep, this stuff of like what to say to a client. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like just again, it's like anything. You've been doing it and you become so good at it. And there's so many people that it's like their first time, you know, so it seems scary, but it's just like, that's just like such a good like fix. So if anyone is out there right now thinking that they can't outsource or they can't give a freelancer some piece of content, right? Like that's a limiting belief. Like almost everything can be systematized, or like to what you just said, it can be basically like designed so that if there is a problem, you can just point back and say, well, we talked about this, or this is kind of like what was kind of agreed upon. And then, you know, we need a budgeting restructure, you know, so but that's just like, yeah. So is there anything else, I guess, from that side that you see people, you know, like struggling with as far as then outsourcing stuff or giving stuff to people, like where you see it going wrong, or where you see people struggling when they're, you know, outsourcing projects?
I guess I would say just being patient with the writers in the beginning. It's going to take a lot of hands-on explaining to them things that you might think are self-explanatory are not to someone who's brand new. So if you assign them a PR article for a client that's going to a certain outlet, let's say, I know, you know, basically every PR outlet at this point I've written for, so I know all of their little different rules, and they have different rules. So, you know, your writer might not know that if you're submitting an article to Thrive Global, you can't actually mention the person anywhere in the article, whereas you can if it's going to Disrupt Magazine. Like those little things that you come to know so well that other people are not going to know unless you explain it to them, I think is where people get tripped up with it, because they want to just kind of like hand it off and be like, I own a business and people write for me and I don't have to work anymore. And it's just not like that. It's a very slow process of onboarding a writer to know everything you need them to know. You have to be patient.
Got it. That makes total sense. And that's something that I've seen people get wrong. I've gotten it wrong so many times, but it's just such a like good tip. All right, Alex, before we get you out of here, I just have a curious question. How do you manage your time now? I actually saw you maybe posted a TikTok or something about this, but just for those that are also wondering, you know, again, being a freelance writer, being a freelance entrepreneur, and now growing a big brand and a business, like how do you think about managing your time, setting up your week, setting up your day? You know, a lot of people struggle with time management.
I know I'm a bad person to speak on this because I don't really have an approach to it. I wake up early and just see what is on deck for the day. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I do all of this today. And then I go to bed. I guess like my secret hacks for it is waking up early, never procrastinating. So if I have something big that falls into my inbox, that's going to take, 4 hours of my time, I just do it then and there. Like I just get it done. I think procrastinating, there's no room for it if you want to be managing a bunch of things at one time. Let's see what else. I have kind of like my businesses set up. I think they covered it in the $100 Startup, that book, the system where there's like the sole proprietor in the middle, and you have like all of these different independent contractors around you. And they're not your employees or anything, but you use them as you need them. So like 1 week, I may be using my graphic designer a ton because it's what I need that week. And then I might not talk to her for like 3 weeks. But then the next week, I might be bugging my video editor a ton. Okay, then I don't need you. Then I need my podcast audio editor. That's kind of like how I have my thing set up. So it's very agile and like flexible to kind of like move with whatever is needed of me that day or week. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, if people just followed those tips, they'd be way more productive, period. I mean, that's Just simple, but doesn't need to be anything crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, I know we talked about it. You have a lot of content coming out. You are podcasting again. I think you have a new season coming out. And just like so many places, but what would be some of the best ways for people to connect or learn more about you, learn about the business, or favorite, socials for people to get started?
Yeah, I would say my TikTok, right, is like the best place to go for just all general info from me. My podcast has right now 22 episodes, just me, that will tell you literally everything you need to know about getting started freelancing. Like, shouldn't even be free, honestly. It's so good. No, I'm just kidding. It's free, and it like has everything you could literally ever need. And then this next season I'm finally having guests on. Love to have you on it.
Woohoo.
Where I'm going to now start to branch out just from freelancing, because there's so much more like to me and everything that I want to help people with. So the podcast is called The Freelance Fairy Tales.
Okay, awesome. I love that name. And that's really cool. I'm excited to come on and be part of that. Alex, I just want to say thank you again for coming on. I feel like
Of course.
people can take so many actionable things from this episode. So that's always like the first box to check. And just like your energy is awesome. So I think people can use it as motivation to escape the, corporate slave ship and get out and follow a similar path. So
Hell yeah.
that's what's up. That's what we're doing here. But I just want to say thank you again, and best of luck finishing out 2021.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Good deal. Thanks.
Hey, you millennial millionaire. Are you looking for help getting to the next level in real estate? Are you looking for accountability and strategy to achieve your goals? If so, Jonathan is now taking on one-on-one students and opening a few spots in his private mastermind. It's affordable and welcome to everyone. If you had any questions or think you may need a boost, send Jonathan a message on Facebook or email at jonjfarber@outlook.com.